Hey folks, Dr. Jamara Davis Welch here. Welcome back to those who've been following me for a while, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. As I mentioned in my last video, we are expanding our conversations to talk about how you can take your expertise and create online courses as a means to generate additional income. Today, we're going to start that journey by focusing on finding your niche, which is one of the most crucial decisions that you'll make when creating an online course. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that due to the depth of this topic, we'll be breaking it into a series. Today is part 1, where we will cover why niche selection matters and how to define your niche. Maybe we'll call it Identifying Your Niche 101. In upcoming videos, we'll talk about validating your niche, assessing its profitability, as well as standing out in a crowded market. And yes, for those who have been following our biblical series on Susanna, part 3 will be coming in the next few days. Now, go grab something to take some notes with, and let's talk about why niche selection matters. When creating an online course, don't look at it as though you're just teaching a subject. You're solving a problem. Think about that. You are providing solutions to specific challenges that your audience is facing. Look at it this way: the right niche will allow you to address the specific needs of a target audience. It will allow you to build a following of engaged learners. It will allow you to generate demand for your course, as well as stand out in a sea of competing content. Now, here's something I want you to really hear today. A profitable niche doesn't have to be the most popular topic in the world. Let me say that again. A profitable niche doesn't have to be the most popular topic in the world. It simply needs to have demand, an engaged audience, and potential for growth. Now, let's talk briefly about specializing. When people tell me they are worried their expertise is too specialized, I tell them that's actually a good thing. Specialized niches often have less competition and more dedicated audiences that are willing to invest in the solutions to their specific problems. Think about it like the medical field. You have your general practitioners who see patients with all kinds of issues, and then you have specialists like cardiologists or neurologists. No doubt, both the general practitioner and the specialist are valuable. But notice how specialists can often charge higher rates and have patients who are willing to travel great distances specifically to see them. Why? Because their specialized expertise solves specific and often urgent problems. The same principle applies to your course niche. Specialization can be incredibly valuable. Now, let's talk about the first step toward defining your niche. The first step in choosing a niche is narrowing down your area of expertise. Let me walk you through how to do this effectively. This will be an exercise in which you reflect on your expertise and area of competence. I want you to start by asking yourself some key questions, such as, what subjects do you have deep expertise in? What do others come to you for advice about? Also, what topics could you comfortably speak about or teach for hours? Now, let me address something important here. You may hear people say that you should only create courses about topics that you are passionate about. Let's be clear, I'm not that person. While passion helps, it's not the only path to success. Many successful course creators have built profitable businesses teaching topics they're simply knowledgeable and competent in, rather than being wildly enthusiastic about said topic. For example, you might have expertise in Excel spreadsheets or business accounting. You might not wake up every morning excited about spreadsheets, but you're good at explaining them, and more importantly, there's strong market demand for this knowledge. On the flip side, you might be passionate about vintage vinyl record collecting or medieval calligraphy or even collecting antique thimbles. Yes, that's a real hobby. But the market for these courses might be smaller or less willing to pay premium prices, especially during challenging economic times. Now, don't get me wrong, and no offense to those of you who may be antique thimble collectors. What I'm saying doesn't mean that you can't create successful courses in these areas, but it does mean that you might need to be extra strategic about finding your specific audience and their pain points. Hopefully, you get my point. Speaking of pain points, let's talk about how to identify them. To do this, you'll need to consider what problems you can solve with your knowledge. This is where the money is, in solving specific challenges. I want you to ask yourself, what frustrations do people in your field commonly experience? What questions do you find yourself answering repeatedly? Also, what shortcuts or systems have you developed that others could benefit from? Let me give you an example. If you are knowledgeable about digital marketing, some pain points your audience might have include not knowing how to create effective social media strategies or struggling to generate leads online, being overwhelmed by analytics and not knowing what metrics matter. Each of these pain points could potentially become the focus of a profitable course. Remember, people pay for solutions to their problems, not just information. Now, the sweet spot for your niche lies at the intersection of three things: what you're good at, in other words, your expertise, what you can consistently deliver, so I want you to think sustainability, also what people are willing to pay for, in other words, market demand. Note that passion can certainly help with sustainability, but competence and market demand are non-negotiable if your goal is to generate meaningful income. And by meaningful income, that's something that you'll have to define for yourself as you know your situation and how much you need to make to support the lifestyle you desire. Now, once you've outlined your niche, I want you to narrow it down even further to make sure it's specific and focused. For example, instead of a broad topic like fitness, you could narrow it down to fitness for busy working mothers or fitness for beginners over 40. This brings me to something crucial that I want to emphasize strongly. You must get very clear on who your buyer is. This is called creating a buyer persona, which is a detailed profile of exactly who will purchase your course. Your buyer persona should include demographics, think age, gender, location, income, education, their professional background, goals and challenges, what they want to achieve, what's holding them back. Think about their learning preferences. In other words, how do they like to consume information? Also, where they spend time online, which platforms, which communities. Remember, one of the most beautiful aspects of online education is that it's location independent. You might be based in the United States or Ghana, but your ideal buyers could be in South Africa or Kenya, Indonesia or Brazil, or anywhere else in the world with internet access. The point is, don't limit yourself geographically unless your topic specifically requires it. The more specific you can be about who your course is for and what problem it solves, the easier it will be to create targeted, relevant content, to market to the right audience, and to position yourself as an expert, as well as charge premium prices for specialized knowledge. This brings up an important question that you need to ask yourself. Are you looking for quantity or quality of enrollees? Let me ask that again. Quantity or quality of enrollees? There's a big difference between creating a general course that might attract hundreds or thousands of people at a lower price point versus creating a specialized premium course that attracts fewer students but at a much higher price point. Think about it this way. Would you rather be one of hundreds or thousands of fitness instructors competing for general audience attention, or would you rather be known as the go-to expert for helping working mothers fit exercise into their busy schedules? Personally, I always recommend focusing on creating high quality courses that you can charge premium prices for. This means finding those buyers who are specifically looking for what you teach and who are willing to pay for that specialized knowledge. It's much more profitable to focus on serving the right audience exceptionally well than trying to appeal to everyone. You might even consider offering different tiers or levels of your course depending on who the buyer is and what they need. For example, a basic tier for individuals just starting out, and a premium tier with additional resources or coaching or customization for businesses or advanced learners. We'll dive deeper into course pricing structures in a future video, but keep this in mind as you identify your niche. And speaking of businesses, understand that the right audience may not be just individuals. For all you know, your course may be bought or licensed by another business or even a school. For example, let's say you are a cybersecurity expert and you create a course that teaches people how to identify cybersecurity threats such as phishing attempts, there might be a corporation out there who buys your course for their employees to take. You see what I mean? Don't limit yourself to just individual people when you're thinking about who your buyer is. Now, while we're still talking about course pricing, I know we are living in economically challenging times, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people or businesses out there who have the means and are willing to pay premium prices for valuable knowledge that will help them solve specific problems. So don't feel guilty about charging premium or competitive prices for your expertise. Remember, when you undervalue what you offer, you're not just shortchanging yourself, you're also sending a message about the perceived value of your knowledge. People often equate price with quality, and serious learners, and in some cases other companies, are willing to invest in courses they believe will truly transform their skills or solve their problems. Now, I'm not saying to price gouge or make your course overpriced. It's essential that you do your homework. In other words, research to make sure whatever you charge for your course is competitive. Before we wrap up today's video, I want to give you a practical exercise to help define your niche and identify your buyer persona. Yes, I'm that type. I do give out homework, so get ready as we continue in our series. Consider this as your first assignment. There are 2 parts to it. Part 1 is niche identification. I want you to look at the example here on your screen, pause the video, or take a screenshot. Take out a piece of paper and make 3 columns. In the first column, I want you to list 5 to 10 things that you are knowledgeable about. In the second column, rank each item on a scale of 1 to 10 based on your level of expertise and how consistently you can deliver quality content on this topic. And then in the third column, I want you to rank each item on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how much you think people would pay to learn about it. I want you to look for the items that you score highest in columns 2 and 3. These are your potential niches. For part 2, again, pause the video or take a screenshot. You will be making a buyer persona profile for your top 3 potential niches. To do this, answer these questions. First, who specifically would benefit most from learning your topic? What are their demographics? Again, think age, gender, income level, occupation. Where are they located? Remember, they could be anywhere in the world. 4, are they a business? 5, what specific problem or challenge are they trying to overcome? Number 6, what would success look like for them after taking your course? And then number 7, where do these people likely spend their time online? To do part 2, you're going to need to take your top 3 potential niches and try to make them more specific by matching them with your specific buyer based on your buyer persona profile. To do this, you'll be defining who exactly your niche would help based on your persona. You'll be identifying the specific problem that your niche would solve for your buyer. And you'll also be considering how your approach would be different from others teaching similar topics. Finding the right niche is the first step toward creating a successful online course. So take your time with this step. It's worth the investment of your time to get it right. In our next video in this series, we'll talk about how to validate your niche to ensure there's demand for it. We'll cover market research methods, how to analyze competitors, as well as tools that you can use to gauge interest in your topic. Remember, your expertise has value, and there are people out there who need exactly what you have to offer. Your job is to find them and to create content that specifically addresses their needs. Before I sign off, I leave you with this to meditate on. Proverbs 22:29 tells us, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank." Your expertise has value. It's about finding the right audience who needs exactly what you offer. If you have any questions about finding your niche, drop them in the comments below. And as I mentioned earlier, I want you to stay tuned for part 3 of our Susanna series, which is coming in the next few days. With that, salama and barakah, in other words, peace and blessings, and I'll see you in the next video.